Okay, hi guys, and welcome to today's show. Today, a special show because my little Tudor, my darling little Tudor Day is back. Missed it immensely. So I'm going to be sharing my repair experience and who I recommend to repair your watches, especially in the United States. And of course, I've got to do a wristwatch check. And that kind of brings me on nicely to the other subject of today's video, which of course is the 5 loves and hates of the Breitling Navitimer. It's been a year since I got this watch, so I thought I'd do that today. Perfect timing. So wristwatch check done. Let's roll the intro and get on with today's video. So, one of the most frequently asked questions I get on my channel is where to send your watches to be repaired, to be restored. Maybe you need a servicing and the whatever watch it is past its warranty with the manufacturer. And I recommend Saltzmans. Now, I've been sending in watches to be repaired or serviced to Saltzmans for quite a while. I love the way they do business. I trust them. You know, I send in my little Tudor. This is a special watch to me. It's a birth year watch. It's a watch I love immensely. And by no means is it an inexpensive watch. I mean, this was you know, 1,500. They're approaching 2,000 now on the used market because the prices are going up. So it's got to be somebody I trust. You may ask, why don't I just go to, you know, why don't I pop on a train? I live 10 minutes away from Midtown. Why don't I pop along to the Diamond District or a watchmaker in the city? Well, the thing is, sometimes I don't have time, and it's actually easier just to pop it in the post. You go to the Saltzmans website, you fill in a form. It's very, very easy. It's a thing of trust, and also Saltzmans have access to so many brands and parts. Rest assured that your watch is in good hands, and that for me is the most crucial fundamental thing, and that's why I recommend their services to you. Now, this particular reference was a bit tricky. It took a little longer than usual, not for the actual repair. The repair took a morning at most. Sometimes with references like this that are a little uncommon, you know, this is a 35mm case, most day dates are 36mm case. You know, the parts are sometimes difficult to get a hold of, so it's worth bearing that in mind. But what I love about Saltzmans, they kept me updated. I got emails of the progress. They managed to hunt down the correct crystal replacement. They provide movement overhauls, quartz mechanical self-winding, crystal replacements like mine, battery service, resealing, pressure testing, cosmetic cleaning, case and bracelet polishing, new movement replacement, new straps and bracelets, obviously dial refinishing, and restorations. I'll include a link down below. It's important to mention this. They did say we've had customers submit 100-year-old Pateks that you simply can't source parts for. With older in-house calibers that are not mass-produced, it can be tough. These kind of watches really need to go back to the niche specialist or back to the original factory. So there are exceptions, but most of the time, as you've seen with a bit of a rarer reference like this, they were able to source the parts. This actually is an OEM crystal, which is absolutely fine for me. They do say that most brands, they have access and they can restore, repair most brands. So outstanding service. I'm really, really pleased. You know what, actually, let's change perspectives and have a before and after look at the repair of my darling little Day-Date. I have got rid of the outer box. It came extremely well packaged. I must not neglect to mention that. So they've included the crystal that had broken, and let's have a look. Let's find that crack. There you go. There you can really see it there. I bashed the top of the watch with my pair of keys, and it's the scratch. Oh, you can really see it now. The scratch
or crack had started here and was slowly growing over the weeks. And it just got to the point where at first I thought, oh well, it's just a little dink, won't matter. But a bit like the glass on a car, it starts to grow. As soon as it got that large, I thought, no, I've got to get it fixed. So let's have a look at the repair work. Let's open it up. It's back. Oh, there it is. I've missed it so much. Really, I missed it. My little day date. It's come all nicely wrapped. Oh. And there we go. Date magnification lines up perfectly. Let's look at it from the profile. Beautifully placed. Beautifully done. Really, no damage to the watch. Let's see if there's any. Let's get in really close up. Flawless. Perfect. Perfect. Really outstanding work. This is why I recommend Saltzmans, because they have the resources, they have the connections, they were able to do this perfectly, find the right crystal even for a rarer case like my little Tudor Day. Chuffed to bits with that. Let's take it back to the studio.
Okay, right, so let's move on to the 5 loves and hates of the Breitling Navitimer. This, of course, is the reference A23322. It's the 41mm version. So it's been a year of ownership, and sometimes it takes that long to really get to know a watch, to really appreciate and to kind of find the things you don't like about a watch. Sometimes it's more immediate, but anyway, here are my 5 likes first of all, or my 5 loves rather. Number 5 has to be the Breitling brand itself. As we speak, they're actually, rumor has it, they're going under negotiations. They are independent, but I think they're about to be sold or bought or something along those lines. It's a real shame. I do respect them for being independent, but the brand to me is a really strong brand. I even love their logo, and I've said it before, their logo is one of the coolest logos in my opinion. I even bought the cap. I have little trinkets and little Breitling penknife, and I think it's my favorite watch logo. But anyway, beyond the logo is their history. Founded in 1884, and they have a really long, rich horological history of significance. They were the first watchmaker to make a chronograph with the double pushers, one for stop-start and the other for reset, and that was in 1938. Also, the Navitimer itself, released in 1952. It predates the Speedy, it predates the Subby. It was one of the original icons. I recently just got 2 of their brochures, and they are gorgeous. I can't help but love the connotations they have with aviation. It's so indicative of that propeller and early jet age of aircraft. I just love it. The Navitimer itself was the successor, or the next evolutionary step to the chronomat. The chronomat, of course, had the famous Venus movement, hugely iconic and important. The Navitimer with its slide rule bezel, that age before digital and computers in the cockpit, encapsulates that period, the romance, the sense of adventure, beauty of aviation, the excitement, the wonder of that age. I just love it. I'm a sucker for my model airplanes and all the rest of it. So that's number 5. It's a great brand with an incredible history, incredible list of achievements. Independent, well, as of now, just very cool. And I think people tend to forget that. Okay, so number 4, and it's got to be that dial. And I've said it before, it's one of the most beautifully elegant dials. Now, some of you may not like busy dials, but just for a split second, just forget about personal taste. If you really look at the dial, if you really study the dial and take into consideration the placement of the numerals, the careful design and the scale of it, the dimensions, where everything has been put in relation to everything else. Yes, it is very busy, but it's extremely legible for something so complicated. it must have taken ages. It really is a marvel of design, and I think the dial is one of the most beautiful dials. I just find myself lost in it. Am I ever going to do fuel consumption calculations? No. Have I used it once or twice to calculate the tip I should leave at a restaurant? Yes. The thought, the careful consideration, the amount of attention given to that dial is exquisite. There's just something about that placement, especially with that beautiful Breitling winged logo at the 12. It just has even when the chronograph is reset, it's just the colors, the contrast with the colors of the subdial, the difference in textures, that sunburst effect, that color blue, even the black one, they just do it so well. Okay, so that was number 4. Number 3 has got to be performance. All Breitling watches since the year 2000 are chronometer certified as standard, and they even have their own specialist factory and workshop in Le Champ de Fonds in Switzerland that specializes in regulating, making sure that they are high precision movements. People kind of get a little snooty at Breitling, saying they're just glorified Valjus or ETA, and yeah, okay, they are, but they're all sent off to be COSC certified, they're regulated to 6th position, nicely decorated. The attention to detail is there. It's one of my most well-performing watches. Have I had issues with Breitling in the past? Yes, but I've got to say their servicing, their care was fantastic. Mechanical things go wrong, but what I'm saying is that it is a very precise and accurate watch, and to me, that standard they have in their movements, and now they've got their own in-house movements as well. It's just something to be respected, and that's definitely one of the things I love about this watch and the brand in general. Okay, so that was number 3. Number 2 has got to be the feeling of refinement and luxury. I really feel when I'm wearing my Navitimer, it feels like a luxury watch, and this sounds a bit bizarre, but something I've noticed with quite a few of my luxury pieces is that they don't often feel like luxury pieces. They're often than not a tool watch that is by a luxury manufacturer. They become luxury icons. This actually feels luxurious. The finishing of the case, even the detail on the buckle of the deployant. I don't really wear deployants, I just don't like them. It's just my personal taste. But even the engraving, even the finishing on the deployant, their bracelets, the actual polishing, even the sapphire, sometimes it looks like it's not even there, like you could just touch the dial. That little counterbalance on the second hand of the chronograph, the winged logo, that gold winged logo, brings a little bit of understated luxury. It's just, that extra detail. Every component is done to a really high standard. It feels luxurious, and that's something when you're paying a lot of money for a watch, you really want it, and it's funny because at the end of the day it is still obviously a tool watch, and I even get more of a feeling of refinement than some luxury dress watches I've worn. It really is the feeling a luxury watch should give you. Okay, number 1, and that is, it's a Grail. I put off getting a Navitimer for many years, and I wish I would have bought it sooner. I really do. Every time I wear it, it reminds me of the years I lusted after it. I had many watches to kind of fill that void. It never quite did it. I remember being in a watch store in Barcelona, and that's the first time I tried on a Navitimer, and I instantly was in love, and I lusted after it ever since, but I had to get some other Grails, other watch Grails out of the way, and so that feeling of achievement, that it's special. It's actually gained some sentimental attachment as well. I talked the other day, actually it was in my Rolex Submariner video, my 5 loves and hates. I said in that video that it reminded me of a lot of memories. I wore it at the Gordon Ramsay's restaurant in London. I actually was wearing this on the other wrist. I had the sub, and 2 icons, 2 Grails. that feeling of achievement. Yes, I've got it, I've done it. It makes me smile every time I look at it. So that's got to be my number one thing I love about it. Okay, so what about 5 things I hate about the Navitimer? And this is really difficult because I love it. You know I love it, but this is really difficult. So number 5, of course, I wish it was a tiny bit thinner. It's a Valjoux 7750, of course it's going to be tall. And in fact, I've had the 7750 in even taller watches. If it was just a smidgen thinner, I'd put it on a strap and I'd call it a dress watch. I really would, because it has that kind of elegance to it. Yes, I know, it's a faux pas, blah, blah, blah. Very minor thing. So that's number 5. Number 4. Now, it has a very wide dial and the sapphire glass is huge because of it. It covers the slide rule bezel. However, the downfall of that is it attracts smudges like you wouldn't believe. I'm constantly going and wiping it, especially if you've got slight OCD tendencies like me. I find myself doing that, rubbing and it attracts fingerprints like you wouldn't believe. Minor annoyance, but I had to put it in there. Okay, number 3, and that's got to do with the date window. Now, I don't mind the date window being at the 4:30 position. It does kind of disrupt the symmetrical nature of the dial. However, I've seen in later Breitling Navitimers, they've actually matched the date wheel to the color of the dial. I wish this one had that. The date wheel on this is white. I think it sticks out a little bit too much. It's not the same white as the subdials. The subdials are kind of a creamy, almost a silver, whereas the date is white. It does match the slide rule, but I just would have loved it to be the same color as the dial. Very, very minor, but as I said, I'm really nitpicking because it's hard to find things to hate about this watch that I love so much. But anyway, okay, number 2, and that is the lug width. I wish it was 20 millimeters instead of 22. I find 22 millimeter lug width a little bit clumsy. If you see here, a tiny bit overpowering. I prefer the refinement of a smaller lug width. With the strap, it's not so bad because it does taper, and also if you change out to another strap that tapers dramatically, you can kind of reduce it. A little bit more apparent on this mesh because it's the same width all the way around, and also being steel, it's kind of heavy and clunky. Had it been 20 millimeters, it would have been, lighter and thinner and more refined looking. But I do feel it could have been, especially on this model that's 41 millimeters, I feel it could have been 20. With the larger ones, obviously 22 suits their scale, but for this reference, I think 20 millimeters would have been better. Okay, so that was number 2. Number 1 has got to be the date change. It has the most irritating way of setting the date. It doesn't have quick set. What you have to do, you have to pull out the crown, and as you're setting the time, you have to rewind it to 8 o'clock, then wind it forward to 12, and then it will click over. And then let's say you're on the 3rd and it's the 22nd. You have to repeat that process so many times. It's just incredibly irritating. The only benefit is that it is a good way of telling the real from the fakes. The fakes actually, ironically, I think the fake ones have a better way of setting the date. The previous 4 things were kind of minor annoyances. This really is a hate. I loathe it, especially if you've had the watch out of rotation, it's been in the safe for a couple of weeks. You pull it out, you want to wear it, and you have to set the date, and it's 20 days. You're sitting there for about 10 minutes setting the date. It is incredibly irritating, but truthfully, that is the only real hate. Okay guys, I'm gonna wrap it up there. If there are any Navitimer owners out there, please do share your own loves and loathes in the comments below. As usual, comments, queries, questions, opinions, all the rest of it in the comments, please. Thank you very, very much for watching, and please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and found it useful. And as always guys, I will catch you in the next one. Okay, ciao.